Hey everyone, welcome back to the TILTEDU channel. So in today's video, we'll be setting up our level as well as adding a character to our scene so that we can set up everything for the development part of this course. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Now, before we start setting up our level, there are a few things we need to download. Now, the first thing is our character. Now, I've taken the courtesy of going into Mixamo. That is a free website that you can sign up, get access to a lot of characters like this. These are all free downloadable characters that you can use on your projects. Now, I've selected the mannequin character right here. That is already been selected. And the best part is you can actually get animation for these characters as well. So if I were to select any of these animations, this one right here, you can see I can also get an animated character already rigged with animation all set up for our game engine. The animation that we need is a walk and a jump. So this should be fine. And make sure if you are downloading animations like this one where it covers a certain range or it is going from point A to point B, it is better to enable in place so that we can define that point A and B inside of Unity when we are getting into the technical development part. So inside of the script, we can define when we press the forward key or the W key, it should travel a distance of this much. So it is better to download it by enabling in place animation. So you can just click download and all the default settings should be fine. And after a few seconds, it should start downloading. Once that is done, I'll just type in jump and I'll just select this one. Yeah, that looks good. Now for this one, I'm gonna go without skin. So that will basically just give us the animation data. It won't give us the 3D model because we already have a 3D model. So we don't need to download it once again. So that will just give us the animation data without 3D model mesh. So I'll just click download and that is all set. Now for the level itself, we made a treasure chest. So that is the main part of the level. Now we need some sort of platform for the level to navigate throughout the level and get to that end goal, that is the treasure chest. So what I did was go into Sketchfab and I searched for some platformer kits. So and I found this really good one. I'll be linking the Mixamo site as well as this Sketchfab 3D asset in the link in the description. Make sure you download this as well. So I thought this platform right here would be of good use, and you can see there are a bunch of trees as well. So I've taken the liberty of using this set for our level. So make sure you download this. It is free to download, and you can just download the FBX. Now the first thing we need to do is create a new scene, because start of this project we are using the default scene. So we want to create a new scene. To create a new scene, all you need to do is go into the project window, right click and click on create and create a new scene. And you can just click save. You have anything on your main level, because it is going to open up a new scene. And if you don't click save, it will lose all your progress that you added into the sample scene. So we've created a new level and we can start adding our 3D assets into that scene. So treasure chest, I'm just going to drag and drop it in the hierarchy. You can see treasure chest is all set up. And I forgot to show you this in the last video, but if you move around the light, you can see it is actually behaving accurately to the direction of the light. And if we increase intensity, it is also behaving correctly. So we have our treasure chest. Now let's add our trees and platforms. I'll just add those to the scene as well. So we have all the assets we need to set up our level. Before we get into setting up our character, there is a concept that we need to learn while making a level, especially when it comes to Unity. That is the concept of prefabs. So what is a prefab? Now, right now in our scene, we have two prefabs. An easy way of identifying a prefab is looking at the name tag, and if it's of the color blue and has a blue box on the side of it, it means it's a prefab. Now I'll show you how you can create your own prefabs. So if I were to right click and create a cube and move it to the front of it, and I can just select this cube and drag it and drop it onto my project window. And you can see it has changed the color of the text as well as added a cube logo on the side of that object. Now what is a prefab? Now if I double click on this object that we created, you can see we go to a different window. Now this is the prefab window or the prefab editor window. Now the main use case when it comes to prefab is level designing. So imagine you finished your whole level, you've added all your assets as well, and you forgot to include a specific thing and you need to redo the whole level because you already added a part of it to the existing level. Now that is when prefabs come in handy. So imagine I scattered this cube throughout a scene and I forgot to add another cube on top of it, because that is the design I meant to add at the beginning, but I forgot accidentally. The only solution I have is to create the scene from scratch again. But if I displaced this cube as a prefab throughout the scene, I have the opportunity to edit it as it is and automatically update the whole level. So I'll just show you an example. So right now we have this cube and I'm going to just place it on this platform by moving it, and you can just press F on your keyboard to highlight it. And I'm going to duplicate this platform as well. I'm just going to move this one over here and I'm going to duplicate this prefab. So this is our level. Now the design I wanted this cube to have is to have another cube stacked on top of it, but I forgot to add it while setting up this level. Now the best option is for me to delete all the cubes and add a version that has another cube stacked on top of it. But we don't have to do that because we added a prefab. Now what I can do is go into the prefab view and duplicate this cube by pressing Ctrl D, and I can just move it on top. If I scale it down and place it over here and press Ctrl S to save it and go back into our scene, you can see it has automatically updated every prefab in the scene to have that specific property. So that is really useful when you are setting up your levels and you want to iterate and change on the go. So make sure if you're duplicating certain objects inside of your scene, make them a prefab before duplicating it. That is the main use case of the prefab. So I'm just going to delete all these things. Now what I'm going to do is make prefabs out of these platforms as well, because we need to duplicate them so that we can set up a level for our character to navigate. Now, just like what we did earlier to make a prefab, all you need to do is select that specific object and drag and drop it to project window. I'm going to do this with this one as well. And another use case of prefabs is that you can access these prefab inside a script as well. So if you want to create a variation or a bunch of these objects throughout your scene while accessing the script, you can actually do that. As an example, if you want to create a prefab of your enemy and disperse them throughout the level, all you need to do is make an enemy character and turn that into a prefab, and you can just have a public opening where you can add this enemy character and say it inside the code throughout the level, I want this enemy to appear at certain positions. So that is also useful when it comes to the development part or the programming part as well. And it's really a good practice when it comes to folderizing your assets. So what I'm going to do is right click, go into a folder and call it prefab, so that we can add all these prefabs into the prefab folder. We have set up half of our level. Now before we move any further, let's bring in our character as well. Go into where you downloaded the file and click on import. And you can see it has come through. Just like what we did while importing a 3D asset, you still need to extract the textures as well as the material. So I'm going to do that by clicking on the extract textures button, mapping it towards the textures folder. And you can just press fix now to fix this error. The same for the material as well. Now if we switch over into the animation part, you can see if we play back this animation, we have got the walk animation added to this object. Now let's import the jump animation as well. And if your character is not showing up when you're importing the jump animation, all you need to do is drag and drop this walking animation or this walking animation with your 3D mesh onto that jumping animation import settings. So if you just add it, you should be able to see your character jump as well. So we've gotten our two characters as well as the animation added to our scene. Now let's set up our level. Now for the first level, you want it to be simple, not to overcomplicate anything. So we have a few platforms. Now compared to the size of the treasure chest, the scale of the platform is really small. So all you need to do to scale up an object, select that object and press R on your keyboard to activate the scaling menu. And you can just select this cube shape at the middle of the gizmo to scale that up in all directions. So just scale that up so that our character can fit on it. And if you want to see if your character fits on it, you can just place the character as well. It's a bit big, so I'm going to scale it down a little bit, and I'm going to scale the treasure down as well so that everything inside the scene is accurate. So the first level is going to be pretty simple. We have a single platform where the player is going to start, and we can just duplicate this platform. It is a prefab, so no problem doing that. And we can just place it on a higher podium. So the user has to jump onto this podium to reach this area right here. Where we will duplicate this once again, and to add some sort of a difficulty, what we'll do is duplicate it towards this angle as well and add a tree onto it so that it blocks the player from jumping onto that platform. So he'll have to navigate through here. Now on the last platform, we can just duplicate this platform, scale down the tree so that we can add a tree as well. Now scale down this tree as well and duplicated that. Rotate that as well, maybe off to the side. So we have set up a pathway for our user to go, and as the end goal, we can just move this treasure chest all the way over here so that it signifies this is where the character has to go. Now, since we've added our character onto a scene, let's set up the animations for our character. Now, an animation that I forgot to download earlier is an idle animation. So when the character is standing still, instead of just looking like it came out of a run cycle, we can just add an idle animation so that looks like it's relaxing. So I'll just download an idle animation from Mixamo. This one should be fine. And just like what I did earlier, I'm just gonna download it without skin because we already have the 3D model for our character, and I'm gonna import that as well. Okay, so we have our animations all set up. Now we can actually set it up so that we can transition from one animation to the other seamlessly without no issue. How do I set that up? Well, that is done in the animation window. So all you need to do is go into Windows, Animation, and you can see there are a few options here. So there is the Animator, and then is the animation component. Now we want to select the Animator. Now when it comes to the animation window, that is for creating animations inside of Unity. So if you want to manually keyframe and animate a certain object, you can do that inside of the animation window. Now what I'm going to do is select our character, that is, I'm going to call him player, and add an animator component so that we can set up our animations and transition as. Now there is an issue. You can see there is no runtime animator controller available. Now no problem, we can actually create that by right clicking and selecting the animator controller and calling it player as well, and I can just select it and add it to it. Now if I double click, it will open up animator window. Now this is where we'll set up our animations to have transitions and what animation should play when. Now you can see there are a few options: entry and exit and any state. So the entry is where the animation starts and the exit is the end of the cycle. Now let's add a few animations. You can just right click and add, or you can just simply drag and drop as well. Now it's best to rename these animations. Right now it is named as mixamo_com. So I'm just gonna change that. Ideal. How do we add the walk animation? Because it is not an animation clip, it is added to the character itself. How do you add that? Now, there are multiple ways of doing it. I'll just show you a simple one. All you can do is right click, create an empty state, and select that state, and click this drop down icon or this play button icon, and go into this Mixamo component and just drag and drop it into the motion, and you can just rename it as. So we have got the walk, jump, and the ideal setup in our animator. Now, how do we connect these animations and how do we determine which should play first? Now, for the technical part, we'll cover that in a different video, but I'll show you how you can set up the transitions in the animator window. So to make a transition, you can just select the animation and click on make transition. So from ideal, you want to walk, and from walk, you also want it to go back into ideal, and from walk, you would like it to go into jump as well as jump into ideal, so that we have structured our transitions. And from jump, you want it to go to ideal as well, and vice versa. So we have set up a triangle motion of animations that should play and the transitions. And when it comes to actually how this works when you press W and all the technical parts, we'll be covering in an upcoming video. So this is how you can just set up animations inside of Unity. Hey everyone, so that was just a brief explanation on how you can set up your levels as well as characters for your game inside of Unity. So in the next upcoming videos, we'll be diving more deeper into the technical parts, how you can get into scripting, the basics of scripting inside of Unity using C# programming language, as well as how you can set up all your inputs so that it works properly when you're pressing your keys and the animation is playing accordingly. So until then, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends who want to get into game development as well as 3D asset creation. So also make sure you subscribe and click on the bell notification to get notified whenever we post a new video. Until next time,